Snow fell in soft, endless curtains, coating the forest road in a thick, untouched white. The world felt frozen in time, muted and unreal, as if sound itself had been swallowed by the winter air. The CEO's SUV sat idling behind her, headlights cutting two pale paths through the haze of falling snow. She had only stepped out for a moment to answer a call that had already ended, the kind of empty conversation that had been eating at her all day. The pressure of the board meeting, the hostile takeover she had just finalized, the polite smiles, the lies. She closed her eyes, letting the cold bite her cheeks, trying to remember what it felt like to just breathe. That's when she heard it, a tiny, shaking voice, barely louder than the snowfall. "Ma'am, I can't find my daddy." Her eyes flew open. Her heart lurched so hard it almost hurt. She turned, and there she was, a little girl standing alone by the roadside, bundled in mismatched clothes, snow dusting her curls and clinging to her lashes like tiny stars. Her cheeks were red, not from play but from the dangerous kind of cold. Her lower lip trembled as she tried to stay brave, but fear filled her eyes, deep and raw. "Oh my God." The woman breathed, instantly dropping to one knee in front of her. Snow soaked through the expensive fabric of her trousers, but she didn't care. Nothing mattered except the child standing in front of her. "Hey, it's okay, sweetheart. You don't have to be scared anymore. I'm right here with you." The girl stared at her, searching her face as if trying to decide whether she was real or just another part of the snowy dream. I tried to stay in one place like Daddy said," she whispered, her voice cracking, "but it's getting dark and he didn't come back." Cold washed over the woman, but not from the weather. "What's your name, Angel?" she asked gently, brushing snowflakes from the girl's hair with trembling fingers. "Emma," the child said. "He said he'd just go get help. He said he'd be quick." The words settled heavy in the air between them. The woman's gaze lifted to the shadowed wall of trees lining the road, tall, silent, watching. The forest looked endless, swallowing the light. And then she heard it, a faint snap of a branch somewhere deep inside. Her breath hitched. She looked back at Emma, whose small fingers reached out and gripped the sleeve of her coat, as if instinct already knew where safety lived. "Did you come out of the forest, Emma?" she asked carefully. The girl nodded, pointing with a tiny, trembling hand. We were driving, but the car got stuck. Daddy told me to wait while he looked for someone to help. I tried to be brave. I really did." A fierce protectiveness flared in the woman's chest, something stronger than logic, stronger than fear. She slipped off her leather gloves without thinking and fitted them over the little girl's frozen hands, wrapping them together in hers. "You were very brave," she said quietly. "And you did the right thing. You're not alone anymore. I promise you that." Behind them, the headlights of her car burned brighter as the snow thickened, casting a pale glow around their figures. And in that light, for just a second, she saw the truth of the moment clearly. Her perfectly controlled world had just split in two. There was the road behind her, and then there was the forest, and somewhere inside it a father was missing. And this time, she knew she wasn't walking away. The air in the forest felt different. The moment they stepped beyond the edge of the road, the open, pale light of the headlights faded behind them, replaced by a dense twilight that wrapped around the trees like a living thing. Snow clung in heavy corners on crooked branches, and every small movement sent a soft shower of ice crystals down around them. The CEO tightened her grip on Emma's hand, acutely aware of how tiny and cold it felt inside her own. "Stay right beside me," she whispered. "Do not let go, okay?" Emma nodded quickly, pressing closer to her leg. "I won't," she promised, her voice the faintest breath in the quiet. They moved slowly at first, each step cautious, sinking slightly into the untouched snow. The world she knew, polished floors, glass walls. The hum of conference rooms felt impossibly far away now. Here there were only shadows and silence and the steady thump of her heart. She scanned every direction as they walked, her eyes catching on twisted roots and half-buried rocks that looked like frozen hands, clawing up from the ground. "Emma," she asked gently, "did your daddy say which way he was going when he left you?" "He just pointed," the girl murmured, raising her hand toward a narrow, dark a path between the trees. He said people live somewhere this way, and that he would be right back. A knot tightened in the woman's chest. She forced herself to stay calm, forced slow, steady breaths. "Okay," she said softly. "Then that's where we will go." The woods seemed to react to every sound. A distant caw of a crow shattered the hush. A gust of wind groaned through the trunks, and the branches swayed as though whispering warnings. Emma flinched, ducking closer to her side. "I don't like this," she whimpered. "I know," the woman replied, glancing down at her with a tender, determined smile. "But you're safe with me. I won't let anything happen to you." She meant it with everything in her. They had gone only a few meters deeper when she noticed it. A set of footprints in the snow, half-covered but still visible, large, stumbling, uneven. And beside them much smaller ones. Emma's. Relief and dread hit her at once. "Look," she whispered, crouching slightly and tracing the edge of one print with her gloved finger. "These must be yours. And your father's." Emma peered down. "He was walking really fast," she murmured. "He looked scared, but he kept smiling at me. He didn't want me to cry." The words pierced her heart. She straightened slowly, looking ahead with new urgency. He's close, Emma. I can feel it." Then carried on the frozen air came something faint but unmistakable, a strained, broken sound, half swallowed by the trees. "Hello?"
"Is anyone there?"
Her breath caught. Her eyes snapped up, locking onto the deepening forest ahead. "That was him," Emma whispered, squeezing her hand tighter. "That was my daddy." The voice came again, weaker this time, almost lost beneath the whisper of the wind. "Help, please!" It wasn't loud, but it was real. It sliced through the stillness like a thin crack of light in a dark room. The woman froze for half a heartbeat, her body tense, every sense sharpened. Then instinct took over. "It's him," she whispered, her heart slamming against her ribs. She squeezed Emma's hand, feeling the child's small fingers tremble in response. "Stay with me. We're going to him, slowly, careful, okay?" Emma nodded, her eyes wide again. But now there was something else there, too. Hope. Bright, fragile hope. They pushed forward, stepping over fallen branches and through clusters of heavy snow. The path was uneven, treacherous in places, and the woman had to brace. Emma with one arm as they crossed a narrow dip in the ground, half hidden under snow. Her coat snagged on a thorny bush, but she barely noticed, ripping free without even looking back. "Daddy!" Emma called out suddenly, panic and joy tangled in her tiny voice. "Emma?" The man's reply came thinner now, pained. "Daddy, I'm here." "I brought someone." The woman felt her chest tighten at the word someone, as if she were no longer just a stranger, no longer just a powerful businesswoman lost in the wrong world, but now part of something urgent and human and terrifyingly real. "There," she breathlessly murmured. He was lying near the base of a tree, half curled on his side, one arm pressed to his leg. Snow had already begun to settle on his coat and shoulders, as if the forest had been trying to claim him. His face was pale, lips slightly blue, and a deep wince appeared as he tried to move. "Daddy!" Emma broke from the woman's hand and rushed forward, dropping to her knees beside him. "I waited like you said." "I didn't run away!" "I know, baby, I know," he rasped, lifting a trembling hand to touch her cheek. His fingers brushed away the tears, freezing to her skin. "You did so good. I'm so proud of you." The woman knelt across from him, instantly aware of how bad it was. His breathing was shallow. His right leg was bent at a terrible angle, swelling already visible beneath the fabric of his pants. "You shouldn't have tried to move like that," she said gently but urgently. "You could have made it worse." "I didn't have a choice," he murmured through clenched teeth. "I had to. I had to find help for her. Couldn't leave her alone out here." His eyes lifted to meet hers, full of fear and gratitude at the same time. "Thank you for finding her first." Something inside her shifted at the way he said that. "Not thank you for finding me. Not thank you for helping. Thank you for finding her first." "You're both freezing," she said quickly, sliding her coat partly around Emma and then tugging her scarf free to wrap around his neck. The cold bit through her own clothes now, but it didn't matter. "We need to get you out of here." "I can't stand," he whispered, his jaw tightening as another wave of pain hit him. She looked around. The trees stretched endlessly, shadows thick and unwelcoming. The road felt far away now, too far for him to walk, too far for Emma to survive alone if she had arrived just a little later. A slow, terrifying realization settled in her. She hadn't just stepped into a stranger's crisis. She had stepped into a race against time. For one heavy second, she simply knelt there, the truth of their situation settling over her like another layer of snow. The forest wasn't just cold, it was closing in. The sky above the branches was already turning a dull, smoky blue, signaling that daylight was slipping away much faster than she wanted to admit. The temperature would drop even more once the sun was gone, and he was in no condition to survive that. "Listen to me," she said firmly, forcing calm into her voice as she looked at him. "You are going to stay awake, and you are going to stay talking. Do you understand?" He gave a faint nod, jaw trembling. "I'm trying. It just hurts." "I know," she replied softly. "But you are doing amazing. You hear your daughter? She's right here. You are not going to leave her again." At those words, Emma tightened her grip on his hand. "Daddy, don't sleep, okay? We're gonna go home after this. You promised me hot chocolate tonight." A faint, broken smile touched his lips. "That's right. With the marshmallows." "Yes," she said quickly, trying to smile through the cold and the dread. "And I'll get extra." The woman swallowed hard, feeling something twist painfully in her chest. She looked around them, calculating, thinking like the strategist she had always been in, boardrooms and courtrooms, except now the stakes weren't money or power, they were human. They were two lives in her hands. "We need to get help," she said, more to herself than anyone else. She pulled her phone from her pocket with shaking fingers. The screen blinked weakly, one bar of signal, one fragile tiny bar. Come on," she breathed, trying to dial emergency services. It rang once, twice, then the line cut to silence. No, she muttered, stepping a few paces away, lifting the phone higher, turning in circles as if the right angle would magically summon a tower from the sky. For a moment, panic surged through her. Real, blinding panic, the kind she had never allowed herself to feel. Then she looked back at them. At Emma, brushing snow from her father's eyelashes with tiny, careful fingers. At the man who had tried to walk through a frozen forest on a broken leg just to keep his promise. And something in her hardened, not in fear, but in determination. "Okay," she exhaled slowly. "We do this another way." She hurried back to them. "My car is parked on the road. It's not too far from here. I'm going to get help. I'm going to bring people back. But you listen to me very clearly." She knelt so she was level with Emma's eyes. "You stay right by your father. Wrap yourselves in my coat and scarf as much as you can, okay? Talk to him. Don't let him fall asleep. I'll be back as fast as I possibly can." "I swear it!" "You're not leaving us forever?" Emma asked, her voice small and scared again. "No," the woman said instantly, brushing her knuckles across the girl's cheek. "I'm coming back for you. And when I do, your daddy is walking out of here alive. Do you understand me?" Emma nodded slowly. "Okay." The man reached out weakly and caught her wrist. "Be careful," he whispered. "The ground is uneven around here." She gave him a small, confident smile that didn't reflect the fear in her chest. "So am I," she answered quietly. And then she stood, casting one last look at the fragile circle they made together in the snow, before turning and running back into the darkening forest. The forest blurred around her as she ran. Snow cracked beneath her boots, but the sound barely reached her ears over the pounding of her own heartbeat. The trees she had carefully navigated only minutes ago now looked unfamiliar, distorted, as if the woods were shifting, testing her will. Branches clawed at her coat and hair. Cold air burned her lungs with every desperate breath. Still, she didn't slow down. "I will be back. I swear it!" The words repeated in her mind like a vow carved into stone. She stumbled once, catching herself on the rough bark of a tree, her hands stinging as icy snow slid down her sleeves. For a split second, panic flared, the kind that nearly paralyzes. If she lost her direction now, if she failed to find the road again, everything would be over. "No!" she whispered fiercely, forcing her legs to move again. "Not today." She strained her eyes through the tangled darkness, searching for any sign of open space. Then, faint but unmistakable, she saw it, a pale ribbon of light flickering through the trees ahead. The reflection of her headlights. Relief hit her so hard it almost made her dizzy. Almost there, she murmured. When she burst through the last line of branches and onto the roadside, the open space felt shocking, as if she had broken the surface of deep water. Her SUV waited exactly where she'd left it, engine humming, headlights slicing through the snowfall like two guardian beams. She nearly collapsed against the hood, chest heaving, hands trembling. But there was no time to rest. She yanked open the door and grabbed her phone again, her fingers stiff, barely obeying her. This time, as she lifted it toward the sky, the signal climbed. 2 bars. 3. Oh, thank God, she breathed, hitting the emergency number. As the line rang, she turned and looked back toward the woods. From the outside, they didn't look as terrifying, just quiet. Dark trees dusted in white, hiding the truth of what was inside. Hiding Emma, hiding her father. Emergency services. What is your location? Her voice came out shaky but clear, every word sharpened by urgency. I'm on the forest road just off the highway. There's a man injured in the woods, possible broken leg, hypothermia, and a child with him. They're about... She paused, trying to calculate the distance in her mind, imagining each step they had taken. 70, maybe 80 meters inside the tree line to the east of my vehicle. You need to send help immediately. He's fading. We're dispatching a unit now. Stay on the line. Yes, I'm here, she responded, her eyes still locked on the forest. Snow gathered on her eyelashes, melting into her skin like cold tears. Please hurry. Minutes felt like hours. Finally, red and blue lights cut through the falling snow behind her, flashing against the trees in violent color. An ambulance. A response truck. Real help. They're here, she whispered, ending the call. She rushed forward, waving frantically as the vehicles slowed to a stop. He's in there, she called out, pointing toward the entrance of the woods. And there's a little girl with him. Please, move fast. The medics didn't waste a second. They grabbed a stretcher, thermal blankets, emergency gear, and followed her through the snow, guided by her frantic memory of the path. The forest seemed to open for them now, almost reluctantly, as if finally surrendering what it had tried to claim. And as she led them back through the branches, her heart already racing toward that small, fragile clearing, only one thought filled her mind. Please still be holding on. Please still be alive. The medics pushed through. The last line of trees and the small clearing appeared again, the same broken patch of ground, the same frozen creek nearby, the same heavy silence hanging in the air. For one terrifying second, the woman's heart stopped. Then she saw Emma. The little girl was still there, curled beside her father, her arms wrapped around his chest beneath the CEO's coat. Snowflakes dotted her hair, but her eyes were still open, still searching. And when she saw the woman, they widened in pure relief. She came back, Emma whispered, her voice shaking but proud. I told him you would. Her father stirred weakly at the sound, his eyelids fluttering. You kept your word, he murmured, his voice barely more than breath. I promised, the woman said, her throat burning as she dropped to her knees beside them again. And I don't break promises. The paramedics moved fast, their voices calm but urgent, as they checked his vitals, slid a thermal blanket around him, and carefully stabilized his leg. Oxygen brushed across his pale lips. Color slowly, painfully slowly, began to return to his face. He's hypothermic, but he's alive, one of them said firmly. You got here just in time. Those words hit her harder than any boardroom victory ever had. As they lifted him onto the stretcher, Emma clung to his hand. Daddy, you have to stay with me. We still need our hot chocolate, she whispered. A faint smile touched his lips. We will. I'm not going anywhere now, baby. They guided Emma into the ambulance, wrapping her in another warm blanket, and the woman followed without thinking, sitting beside her as the doors swung shut. The flashing lights painted the inside in red and blue, a wild contrast to the soft white world outside. Emma leaned against her, exhausted, her small head resting on her arm. "Are you an angel?" she asked quietly after a moment. The woman let out a small, broken laugh, brushing the child's hair back. "No, sweetheart," she murmured. "Just someone who couldn't walk away." She looked at the man again, at the father who had fought the forest, the cold and death itself for his child, and then out the back window, where the dark woods slowly disappeared behind the moving ambulance. For the first time in a long while, her world didn't feel empty or controlled by deadlines and numbers. It felt real, it felt warm, even in the freezing night. And somewhere deep in her heart, she understood something had changed forever the moment a little voice had said, "Ma'am, I can't find my daddy.